Let's get started this week with a question from Dave, who has a laptop that when he has his external hard drive plugged into it, it delays the boot up process. And Dave, that's usually due to the fact that the BIOS on your computer, and you can get into the BIOS by pushing F1 or F2 or delete. A number of keys can do it. When you first start your computer, look for something that says enter setup or enter BIOS, and you'll be able to find the settings that I'm going to direct you to. And in the boot up portion or the startup portion of the BIOS, disable the USB as being one of the options that it can boot up from, because chances are it's looking to that USB hard drive as a potential boot up device, and therefore when it doesn't find that it can boot up from that device, it stalls. So go ahead and disable that in there. The other low-tech way to fix it is just don't turn your external hard drive on until your computer's all the way booted into Windows. Christina writes to us for the third week in a row with our macro problem, and it turns out that I've learned something today, because this is precisely what happened on my version of Office 2007 that I demonstrated for her a couple weeks ago. I recommend that everyone save their Office 2007 formats in the older .doc or the .ppt if you're PowerPoint, or .xls if you're spreadsheet, instead of the new docx, xlxx, and all that kind of stuff, new file formats that Microsoft has shoved upon us. And I do that for two reasons. One is backward compatibility. Too many people are getting attachments that they can't open because people are saving in this newer format. What I didn't realize when explaining to Christina is that you cannot, apparently according to her, I haven't researched this further, but you cannot save a macro into a .docx file. That's pretty darn curious, and again, another step backwards in my opinion with the Microsoft products. But Christina, thank you for following up and clearing up this mystery for us. I'm glad you found the answer and persevered. USS Rover is a longtime podcast listener and radio show listener, and he heard us this week talking about passwords and lost passwords, and he sent in some tools this week that he uses to be able to remove forgotten passwords or lost passwords in Windows systems, and it involves using Linux, and he's given us some links here. I'm just going to let those sit up there for a minute so you can see those. And USS Rover, I appreciate you sending that in. And he's using a copy of PinDrive Linux to be able to help diagnose some of this kind of stuff too. And I've used Puppy Linux on one of my USB drives. It's fabulous to be able to get into Linux, an easy, quick booting version of Linux, and do some transferring of data and some other troubleshooting as well. So thanks, USS Rover. We appreciate it. Amalia writes in with a question about an exception processing message error. And Amalia, that could be a number of different things. It can be QuickTime problem, it can be an iTunes problem, it can be that maybe you had a card reader attached to your computer and then have somehow taken that card reader off and it's no longer attached. It could be another type of a drive, like a CD-ROM that's no longer working or detached, or an external zip drive, all kinds of different things. There's many situations this could be referring to, because it's a pretty generic message. Another one that this seems to come up in is with Norton. If you've had Norton in the past and removed it, and if there's some leftover pieces of Norton, that could be causing it. So unfortunately, there's a lot of potential things it could be, and I can't direct you to any one of them because I don't have any more details. Dave appears to have received a Christmas present, a Christmas gift that keeps on giving. He had some kind of a musical card he received via email, and after clicking on one of the things it asked him to click on, he started getting some music that started playing in the background, and even after shutting his computer off, he says that the computer still plays, and he also deleted the email. I'm not quite sure, Dave. I've never heard of that, especially if you got the computer off. There should be no physical way for music to be coming through speakers. So I'm not sure exactly if you've given me all the information, but if you completely shut your computer off and then turn it back on and you're still having that, the only thing I can suggest you try is delete the deleted items from your email and then go in and run a disk cleanup to get rid of all temporary files. Maybe it's somehow hanging up in there. But beyond that, this is a situation I think somebody needs to look at for you. Mary is in the middle of performing one of the functions that people usually only do once a year with their computers, and that's print labels. And printing labels is probably number 2 behind typing on a form on things that aren't quite as easy as they should be using Windows or using a computer. And she says she's using Microsoft. You didn't tell me if you're using Works or Word or what you're using, so I don't know what exactly you're referring to in this case, Mary. But what I'm going to suggest you do, and I'm actually going to put a tip up on this for next year, is Avery Online. If you go to avery.com and go to their design and print online area, they have a very nice, fairly simple, unless you understand databases and setting up a database and merges, it's going to always be difficult, especially if we only do it once a year. But using the Avery Online Print and Design Online feature, I think you're going to find you're going to get your labels printed out fairly quickly and without too much problem, and it even lets you import your address book directly into their online product. Jessica has her Semantic subscription coming up due pretty quickly, and Semantic, and I think McAfee's done this as well, is they've set up this automatic renewal. So if you don't go in and permanently cancel your subscription, it's going to automatically renew every year at the cost of between $50 and $75 per year. Jessica, you did hear correctly. You can get the same protection, in my opinion, better protection for free by going to our website, helpmerick.com, and look for AVG Antivirus. It's right under the Links and Resources section. You'll find AVG Antivirus, and you'll be much better off. Take the Semantic products off through the add and remove programs, use the AVG, and I think you'll be in great shape. Bob brings up a great question that a lot of people ask about why is there 2 or 3 different indicators of My Documents if you go into My Computer or you go into Windows Explorer with Windows XP, and to a lesser degree also in Windows Vista. And it's not that they're duplicating your My Documents. There is only one My Documents, and in Windows XP computers it exists under Documents and Settings and then your username. But you see it at the top of the list in Internet Explorer or in Windows Explorer. You see it in the Documents and Settings section, and you'll also see it below all the folders of the C drive. And the reason they do that is just to give you extra access to those files. It's not that they're duplicated, it's not you're using up extra space, and so no, you cannot delete any of those other files because you'll be deleting the originals. So leave those where they are. They aren't duplicates. It's just more than one way to find your files. Mike in McKean, Pennsylvania is having a problem with French spell checking with some of his products, mostly his Outlook Express, I think, and Microsoft Works. And you can solve that by going to my website, Mike. Go to helpmerick.com, search just for the word French, and you're going to find 2 of the top 3 results are the spell checking in French and how to solve that. So go to helpmerick.com, search for French, you will find the answers. Gloria is being haunted by a loud whining noise from her brand new Hewlett-Packard computer, and it happens almost the whole time she's using her computer. That's one of 2 things, Gloria. It's hard to tell for sure, but whining usually is a fan that's not working properly, or it could be a hard drive that's not working properly. So what I would definitely do, if being so it's only 3 months old, call Hewlett-Packard or go back to the place where you bought it, get them to look at it because you have a year warranty. This is definitely a hardware problem. Get it taken care of right away. And Kent is asking, what is the best anti-spyware products available today? There is no single best anti-spyware product. There's a few of them out there. Go to our website, helpmerick.com. Under the links and resources, I have links to Spybot Search and Destroy, Super Anti-Spyware, Adaware, which is still okay. I don't use it quite as much anymore. And then also, I don't have it in that section yet, but another good one is called Malwarebytes. Malwarebytes, malwarebytes.org is who produces that. But those are some good products, and also remember that the new AVG antivirus incorporates some anti-spyware in it as well. But the best approach to fighting spyware is a multi-pronged approach. You need at least 2 programs. In my case, I use Mozilla Firefox as my browser exclusively. I never run any anti-spyware product besides what's involved in the AVG antivirus, and knock on wood, don't have any problems at all. Thanks for writing, everyone. Keep the questions coming at helpmerick.com, and I'll talk to you after Christmas. Have a great Christmas.